If you'd like to print a worksheet, you might want to rely upon a setting that's been in Excel for quite a while called Page Setup. If you go to the File menu and choose Print, you will get a preview of what you're about to print. But also on the left-hand side of the screen here, we see a number of settings as well as a choice called Page Setup. If you have worked with Excel in the past, this is helpful. It's something familiar. And here we can control various aspects of what it is we're about to print. There's a Page tab, there's a Margins tab, a Header Footer tab, a Sheet tab. Many of these features are also found elsewhere in the ribbon system, but under the heading Page Setup, we can get to a lot of features this way. Let's cancel this for the moment, show you another way to get to it. We'll escape from here or press the left arrow back into the worksheet environment. If you click the Page Layout tab in the ribbon, you don't see Page Setup at first, but you do see an arrow in the lower right-hand corner called Page Setup. This is the dialog box launcher that activates the Page Setup dialog box, the one that we just saw earlier. You'll see also a print preview here. So reminding ourselves what this looks like, if we're looking at a print preview of this particular worksheet and we're scrolling up and down on the right-hand side, we see some problems. This is taking 34 pages and maybe it's showing some data we don't want. So how might we make some changes here? We can either go back to the worksheet environment and go to Page Setup there, or enter it right here, Page Setup, and begin to make some changes here. A landscape possibly is an option here. Let's click that, click OK, and see how the preview is looking. It's going to put in more columns, but it will use fewer rows. It's going to take 24 pages now. That could be an option that appeals to you. Let's go back to Page Setup. What else might we consider here? Possibly we could shrink this. In other words, zoom to a different percent. I think that's probably not a sensible option here. There could be another approach here that says, let's fit this, and certainly not to one page, but how about one page wide, and maybe instead of 24 pages, what if we make it, how about 20 pages? Is that going to work? What will Excel do here? Let's click OK and see if that display looks reasonable. Well, that might be okay, it might not. It gives us a lot of white space on the side. In retrospect, maybe that wasn't such a great idea. I'll press Control-Z. And that doesn't work here. Let's go back to Page Setup. Possibly we'll just go back to this button, start at 100%, and reconsider that. So from time to time when you're working with this, you might want to take the attitude that you're not quite sure what things are going to look like. You make some changes. How about margins? Anything we might do here? Sometimes what you might consider doing is changing the size of the margins to either give you more white space, as it's called, on either side, top and bottom, or possibly less. Sometimes you want to center the information horizontally. That's left, right on the screen. That might work pretty well here, sometimes vertically as well. If you have concerns about what appears in the header and footer, you can go to the Header Footer tab, make some changes here. There are some built-in options for what appears in the header. You will see some of these with the file name, some of them with page numbers, and quite a few options in there as well too. And you can also create your own custom header, putting in information that you might want. These displays have been around a long time in Excel, and older users of Excel find it comforting to see these here. People who have used prior versions of Excel might be familiar with this dialog box, and so there's something to be said for the idea that this is familiar and these choices have been around for a while. There are other ways to get to most of these choices by way of the Page Layout tab, but there is the idea that a lot of these choices are all together within this same dialog box. There could be times when you want to print the row and column headings, in other words, the column letters on top, the row numbers on the left-hand side. Occasionally that's what you need. Grid lines you might want to see or you might not want to see. Let's take them off just for the moment and click OK and see how that's looking without grid lines. That may or may not be something you want to consider. So Page Setup has a ton of choices within it. Again, you can get to it by way of the File tab and then Print, and we see the choices here. Or if you're working within the worksheet itself, you can simply click the dialog box launcher that's on the Page Layout tab and activate Page Setup. There's one other oddity here too that you should know about. If we go to Print Preview, for example, right now, we're seeing page 1, as you would expect. Let's take a look at page 2. We're not seeing the heading on page 2, page 3, page 4. Well, let's jump into Page Setup here, lower left, click Page Setup. And on the Sheet tab, there's an option rows to repeat at top. If you click here, it doesn't activate. You cannot choose anything here. Choose Cancel instead, and oddly enough, if you return to the worksheet environment and activate Page Setup from here, you can get to that feature by way of the Sheet tab, rows to repeat at top. And by the way, if we were to use this right now, we'd click row 1. And then jumping into our print preview and scrolling a bit, we'll see that that's on every page. Now, as a reminder here, if you were using that feature and you needed to see the headings on every page, you could also get to it simply by choosing Print Titles right here. So many of the commands that we're seeing within Page Setup are also replicated in the Page Layout tab. But an approach that suggests that many of your print settings are likely to be together and you want to see them in the same dialog box, a good approach can be activating Page Setup in one of the two methods that we showed you right here.